What's going on, Melly, my man? It's been a minute. Super happy to be doing your chart right now. Looking forward to this one. So let's start the timer up. Got that going on. Lighting looks all right. My eyes are red because I was scratching the shit out of them. And yeah, let's go ahead and share the screen. See your chart. I've hidden your last name. We just have Melly. Okay. Yeah, so fellow Sag Moon brother. With Sun, first house, ascendant, and Sun in Scorpio with Mercury there. Very interesting. And then we look at the other side of the chart. We got Saturn kind of opposing a lot. Just kind of like in that position on the descendant. With Jupiter over there too. North Node is in Cancer. Okay, I see. So, okay. What I'm gonna do, I just started doing this, or I just was like, have been thinking about this a lot lately, is I'm gonna have like both Placidus and whole sign up. No. I can't have both. All right, I'm just gonna look at it at Placidus for like 2 seconds and just whatever, see the difference. So yeah, so Placidus, you have 12th house Sun, Moon first house, all this, all this is in the first house still. So I always say Placidus and the whole sign, it's like 2 different highways, a little bit different, different scene, go through different cities, but they get you to the same place, overall. That's the way I look at it. Okay. Let's go back to my system that I prefer. I guess the main point I wanted to make is that and this is usually like when I will implement classes is when I see like what mean, or I don't have that. Basically, like in whole sign, your sun's in the first house, in Placidus in the 12th house. Huge difference. First house sun people, they will, Scorpio, they'll be very, very all about their identity and kind of imposing themselves in that type of way, and very entrepreneurial, very much about let's see, I'm trying to find a whole sign. Yeah, like a lot of it's about the identity, right? It's about it's kind of syncing up the two, and really, like, yeah, being a pioneer in whatever you do, and in the 12th house, it's a lot more about karma, and it can even be a very difficult position for the sun, where it feels kind of misunderstood, and there's like a super need for seclusion and kind of being away from just being away from the limelight, while the first house is like not necessarily about the limelight, but it's definitely a lot more it's a lot more in your face, Aries kind of. Now, of course, it's in Scorpio, which is never going to be like that, so take that with a grain of salt. Now I digress. So what is it like to have a Sag moon and Scorpio sun, Scorpio rising? Well, they're sequential signs, so that one comes after the other, and in essence, you can kind of understand it as, I don't know if you saw my post today, my video about the zodiacal story, like kind of how, if you think about it, as like a process that every human goes through. You know, when we get to Scorpio and Sag, it's a very crucial part of that process, right? Because in Sag, you know, we are ultimately, or excuse me, in Scorpio, you know, it's about kind of having had that relation with other, and it's about shadow work. It's about being really in touch with kind of the darker sides of our personality and really doing the necessary work that's needed to then move on to Sagittarius, which is about creating a worldview, right? A worldview based on your understanding of universal truth. And then after that, you take that into, you know, the next one, which is Capricorn. I'm not going to go the whole story. You can watch the video if you haven't seen it, which is like your career. So, yeah. So having those two is interesting because one of them is really, really about like deep personal introspection, while the other one is more about, I guess you could call it, kind of outward expansion, you know, whether it's like meeting people from different cultures, or, you know, just anything, you know, like learning. I always say it's like either learning, traveling physically or traveling metaphorically. So, you know, trying on different types of philosophies and stuff like that, you know. So that's important. So yeah, it's important for you to, one second, Melly, my friend. Hold on. Let me pause this real quick. I must go to the bathroom quite quickly. All right, I'm back. Short break. Let's get back to the screen. Okay, so where are we? Anyways, so yeah, as I was saying, you know, having Scorpio and Sag back to back, it's just showing that the evolution of the internal and the external. Being someone with, you know, moon and Sag like myself, there's definitely and also having a water sign is my sun sign Pisces. You know, I know it's like to have kind of like the fire, you know, the fire sign as the moon and the water sign as the sun. And shit, hold on, I lose my voice again. It can be a little bit weird in the sense that, you know, water is all about feeling, and Scorpio obviously is a very introverted sign typically. Not always, obviously, but you know, it spends a lot of time kind of in itself. While Sag is quite the opposite, right? So even though they're, you know, not squaring or in any kind of difficult alignment, they're still very different energies. But the advantage you have is that one comes after the other in the zodiacal story. So it's a process karmically that you're really, really going through, is this exchange, if you will, this back and forth between, on one end being, you know, very having periods of like potential isolation. I mean, in Placidus, you know, I use whole signs. In Placidus, you'd have a 12th house sun. And I've been kind of thinking more about Placidus these days, in the sense that, especially, yeah, I think I said that, like, I had to take a little break, 9 minutes into our reading. So I had some business that was calling that I had to answer in the moment. You know how it is. But yeah, like, if you look at it from a Placidus perspective, having Scorpio Sun and Mercury in the 12th, it's a lot different, right? So it's definitely going to speak to, and I do believe in Placidus. I do believe in whole signs. I just use whole signs because there's aspects of whole signs that I like more. But yeah, overall in Placidus, this chart would start here. These two babies would be in the 12th, and excuse me. I definitely feel like it plays out and it makes sense in your chart. This theme of like kind of periods of time, and probably can watch your progressed moon to know in different transits to know if you're going to be which period you're going to be in, basically. With like the Sagittarius, as I was saying before, the moon is really what makes us comfortable, what makes us feel at ease and secure within ourselves. So Sag moon, you need to travel, you need to get out there in the world, you need to it's all about finding that higher truth, finding that higher philosophy, trying things like astrology, trying things like who knows what, right? Like meeting people from different cultures. That's why Cosmos is, but you're in Cosmos, right? If not, let me know. I'm pretty positive that you're in the group. But yeah, basically like just the whole process of going and meeting people from different cultures, like traveling could be something that's very, very powerful for you. Also Venus in Sag is known for, dating people from different cultures. It definitely it for sure gives a love for travel, like no matter what. There's a love for travel. Also even for higher education, it's very favorable. But yeah, like I mean the amount of people I know that have Sag Venus who date, including my girlfriend, who date people from different cultural backgrounds, it's like clockwork, It literally is like clockwork. It's like everyone. And I think what happens there is that ideally someone with a Sag Venus, they'd have the budget and the ability to just kind of go wherever they want in the world, especially if the moon is in Sag. But then as a Scorpio, Scorpios can be big homebodies, right? So they can definitely they definitely like want to have the best of both worlds, right? So that's the split that I talk about in a lot of my videos and a lot of my posts, or actually only one of my posts. Where on one hand, there's that expansive energy and then coming back to yourself, which is quite nice, because you learn. It kind of goes both ways. Like the Scorpio part, is very relational. So it's like learning about yourself and your own shadow through relationships, and also through like the esoteric and the occult, very powerful for you. And in classes that I said, like it would be having your Sun and Mercury there would have you like very, very in touch with the other side, if you want to call it that, the dream, the dreamland, the dream world, the kind of areas of life that are more unknown and maybe even scary to a lot of people. To you, it's just like it just makes sense, right? Now, with that said, the Mercury's retrograde, but I'll talk about that in a little bit. Let me pull this up. So, Moon is also slightly conjunct Pluto. I mean, it depends how large of an orb you use. I would put that in there. Even though it is 9 degrees would definitely work for the moon. Even less than 9, it's like 8.4 or something around there. So that's a difficult one. And it kind of speaks more even to your Scorpio energy. because Pluto conjunct the moon in any sign is gonna, well, what it can do, it can create somewhat of a domineering mother a lot of times. It's not always like in a bad way, but definitely like a mother who is very close and maybe very, very powerful in some type of way, or has a very powerful influence over you. And then having Venus also, you can count that Venus conjunction too. That is gonna push away a lot of the darkness that would usually come with this situation. 1 second, hold on. Oh hell yeah, I ordered some alchemy shit and it has arrived. Wow, awesome. So anyways, yeah. There's definitely with the Pluto, you're someone who's very in tune with your own shadow. Maybe at a young age you kind of experienced it. And with Pisces as your IC, it makes me think that you might have kind of foggy memories of childhood. Neptune's in the fourth house too, so that would speak even further to that. And what can happen with people that have that configuration is that they can either over idealize or under idealize, or just overall have a cloudy memories of what childhood represented to them. So as a Sag moon, which, oh man, it's crazy, like how much I've seen this, and I feel like I experienced this, is that if you did have, because like I see in over here, right, like the bottom part of the chart rules like the family, you know, lots of things like that, like, right, like the childhood, the ancestors, lots. But basically in Pisces, it can create a ton of karma between you and your family, because it's just, it's Pisces, so a very karmic family situation. And I'm not really seeing indicators. Let me just check, see here. I mean, it does square your moon and your Saturn. So I guess from that perspective, you could make the argument that, and is it also, yeah, so Saturn and the moon, so there's like uh, a grand square aspect. Is that the name? I don't even know. I think it's grand square. I don't really remember the names of the most aspect patterns. I just know what the fuck they do. But basically what happens here is that the IC um, squared by Saturn. Actually, let's see. Yeah. And that could speak to just exactly what I just said. It's a 29-degree Saturn, so it's very, very karmic. It's a lifetime, where you're really meant to kind of take that next step. And you're gonna, I always give the example of it's like, at school or university or whatever, some people, they stay up on their homework, and then when the finals come, they're good. For 29-degree Saturn, it's like that's it. Finals are here, so like how much you've studied, that's up to you, right? And it's in the seventh house, so that would create a connection between like romantic relationships and whatever, must be overcome per se in the childhood. Now, then the other side of the square is the moon, of course, and it's like a pretty much exact. I mean, it's 1 degree from being exact. So it's a type I mean, we could call it a T-square, whatever you want to call it, because the MC and IC are opposite, but it's they're all squaring each other. So it's square. It's basically just like Saturn and the Moon squaring, the IC MC axis, either one of them. And to learn more about that, we really have to look at the Moon opposite Saturn. And typically, so when you have Moon, and usually the Moon is the mother, right? In some cases, it is not. In some cases, it's the least dominant parent. And in today's crazy world, sometimes that's the father. But the sun represents who played like the more traditional masculine role, while the moon is usually, I look at it as early nurturing, just as a whole. That's kind of how I've experienced it by talking to more and more clients. But a lot of times, it's also the mother. But sometimes when I try to like say this is the mother, this is the father, it gets mixed up a little bit weirdly. So like if you think of the moon as just like your early nurturing experience and your emotional needs and things like that, it makes more sense from more of like a psychological perspective. So okay, moon opposite Saturn is difficult. Let's talk a little bit more about like the moon and Pluto, because like I said, it's not so tight of an aspect, so it's going to be easier than it would have been if it was really, really tight. But yeah, just like a really intense emotional life, very dramatic, feeling things extremely deeply. And as I was going to say before, with the Sag moon and some of the foggy Neptunian energy ruling childhood, it can, Sag moons, what they do, one thing they do, I love it. I'm so happy I have a Sag moon, right? Because it's so optimistic. It makes one so optimistic. Even if your son's Scorpio, which Scorpios can be known as being sometimes, let's call them realists, right? They're realists. They're the ultimate realists. Like a Scorpio is going to want proof for everything that they're going to really go into, but they're also super intuitive. They've got like that built-in lie detector. They know if someone's full of shit or not. They know who to trust. And you have a triple Scorpio. So and you have Ceres rising too, which is definitely gonna make some of that series, right? Yes, it's definitely gonna make some of that intense Scorpio rising energy. It's gonna give you a way more comforting kind of vibe than if it was just Scorpio, right? So with the moon, as I was saying in Sag, right? It can make someone so optimistic that they may even like look at, like, let's say they had something traumatic happen to them in their childhood. They might just like it's a very future oriented moon sign. It doesn't really look back on the past very much, but that can be which can be a very good thing, because like something bad happens, Sag moon, instead of like they're so philosophical that their thoughts are like, okay, what can I learn from this? And how can I make this an asset? How can I make this a plus as opposed to a negative? Now this is good because it gives them the ability to move forward, to move past setbacks and be successful. However, it's bad when there is actual trauma, there is actual stuff that's really on an unconscious level holding you back, and the Sag moon over optimism kicks in and kind of makes it so you don't really want to engage in it. You're like, no, it's all good, I'm over it. But really, like internally, energetically, it might not be the case. So I had to learn that. Drink some sparkling water. I had to learn that. I actually kind of had like a revelation of that recently with one of my good friends who kind of like, without even knowing my chart, like she's a psychic. She just kind of said some things and it just like rang. I just realized that about Saturn. I was like, damn. And a lot of like the stuff I know about astrology is like like I'm not like, I mean, I've read a million books, but like I mean I haven't sat down and read an astrology book in such a long time. Like it's literally like I just learned for myself, from my own experiences, from I obviously like I have colleagues and I have people I talk to, and it's a lifestyle, it's a religion. But this is something I've noticed and spoken to other Sagittarius moons who have experienced this and clients. So yeah, if there is something, like I'll give you an example. Let's say like there's like you really have to kind of like feel into the emotions and kind of almost force yourself to kind of go into the past a little bit, and feel like, okay, like feel in your body, like through meditation, for example, and be like, okay, what is the energy? What is it? What is it there that like how does it feel? As a Scorpio, the creativity, you can, like find a creative way to kind of write down like I'm this optimistic person. It might feel like it's not bothering me, but is it? Right? Is it? And really trying to get down to the bottom of that. Super important. And I did that recently, and then I had like kind of I don't want to call it an explosion, but I definitely like, went at my brother. I have a third house, Lilith, just like you. Damn, interesting, bro. Um, well, in Placidus, mine's third house, and in whole sense fourth. So yours would probably still be, let's see, maybe second or third. Call it third. But yeah, um, basically like third house Black Moon Lilith, it can create someone whose siblings are jealous of them, for lack of a better way of saying it. And it's not a pretty thing, to have that, right? So you kind of have to like figure out, okay, how am I going to make this work? And Black Moon isn't necessarily a planet. I mean, it's not a planet at all. It's purely a potential energy. So it's like your dark side. It's like if you turn to your dark side, not like your evil side, but like kind of the lower vibe energy in you. Black Moon is what shows up. So in Capricorn, it refers to potential for financial abuse, in the sense of like trying to like kind of like doing like whatever it takes to get to the top, that kind of energy. Like very, very like pragmatic, but maybe like too pragmatic, if it makes sense. And they can try to bind people to promises. So yeah. Um but yeah, as I was saying, with the Pluto, it's very, very important. It's very, very intuitive. So like, dreams, visions, any kind of psychic impressions, like you have that skill of intuition to really feel into that. But it's all about surrender, Scorpio and Pluto in general. Death, rebirth, and transformation, right? So it's all about surrender, letting go, and just because what can happen, like in a dark mood, there can be like fear, paranoia, thinking other people are trying to control you, and lower Scorpio energy can show up like manipulation, lying, all that stuff. And it makes it really hard to control how you react to people sometimes. And there can be lots of mood swings. So what can happen, when growing up, is that there could have been like some level of emotional manipulation. A lot of time, like I was saying, it's with the mother. Maybe she was overbearing, manipulative, and it can be passed on to you. So it's all about doing the work necessary to, or first step is the awareness, but to get past that. But this is totally one of the aspects that pushes one into like psychological self-analysis, to really like get access to these deeply buried memories, right? Which I see is probably being happening. So astrology, meditation, dream work, anything like that, past life regressions. These are what can like really transform. And then after that, like you just have this like very powerful subconscious, that you're able to manifest through, and especially like in the psychic, kind of more intuitive, emotional world. Whereas emotional world, spiritual world. Okay. So Moon opposite Saturn, that's a very difficult one to have. It is known, when you combine Moon and Saturn in a hard aspect, it is all about, depression, like not like you're like constantly depressed, but I mean, there can definitely be like a lack of self-confidence and some shyness, like shyness to be like vulnerable emotionally. Even like the Sag moon is going to push a lot of that away, but then the Scorpio is going to be like, yeah. um and yeah, it can have a big damper on self-esteem, especially if the mother didn't kind of I guess you could say, if you didn't have your needs met by the mother. And yeah, sometimes even Moon Saturn can lead to money problems, possible problems in the first marriage, stuff of that nature. And one other thing about the Moon and Pluto together is there's a level of impulsiveness and like this like sudden eruptive change. So yeah, and making like thoughtless moves, which if you think about your chart, in the Placidus style, 12th house is all about kind of self-sabotage. It can be like the house of repressed energies. Now, I'm just saying that like because I do whole signs, and in the first house, these are a lot more favorable, and they're more referring to need for independence and need for being your own person, for not being held back, stuff like that. Um, Now, yeah, so aside that, Saturn opposite Moon, um, it can definitely create a mother figure that was strict, um, and it can, yeah, like I said, it can just make it really, really hard to open up, especially when young. Since it's an opposition, it a lot of times refers to other, right? Um, Opposition squares are more internal, oppositions are more external, right? Because you see your moon here opposite Saturn. So, a lot of people say it's one of the most challenging aspects because it can make one feel very sad and lonely, um, and create lots of obstacles in your way of having like a very beautiful relationship. And the Saturn moon person is someone who wants that more than anything, right? Um, but really, what I see is that with your North Node in Cancer, in your South Node in Capricorn, and this Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. It's really pushing you towards more of a like it's almost like asking you, when I think of like the North Node in Cancer, or the North Node in Capricorn, like North Node in Cancer, it's like almost asking you to be your own nurturer, to be your own mother in this lifetime. Is it interesting, right? While you don't have this, but if it was opposite, your North Node was in Capricorn, it's like kind of like asking you to be your own father, to be your own, like, in that way. But with your Sun, I don't see. I mean, I see a square with Neptune. A lot of times that speaks to an absent father. In terms like whether it's emotionally, physically, spiritually, whatever. And it could also speak to some kind of, it creates more confusion, more fog. So this is why, like, this is the beauty of like astrology. Like even if we look at this as whole signs or not, this aspect here of these two, Sun and Mercury square Neptune, it is literally like the same thing as having 12th house, right? See what I'm saying? As having those in the sun in the Mercury in the 12th house. So with the um with the sun square Neptune, it can create an energy where the person is, like I said, with the father, there's some sense of loss or confusion, or just like him not being around, whatever. And what happens is that it has a big effect, especially being a sensitive water sign, on your sense of self and being able to have a fair appraisal, like a realistic appraisal. This is especially, you are young as fuck, so fuck. Okay, you're a very old soul. I can tell because when I'm talking to you, I didn't look at your birth year. I assumed it was like 87 or 88, just based on your energy, right? So you're like, and I've heard from like this expert astrologer from Lake Shasta. He met my friend Trey in Shasta once, and Trey kind of showed him his chart. He was like Scorpio Rising, and he's like, oh yeah, Scorpio Risings are old souls, and they most definitely are. They most definitely are. They've seen a lot. They've been through a lot in past lives. So one belief I have as an astrologer, that once again I didn't learn anywhere. It's just purely for my own kind of logic and I guess downloads or whatever, is that we are, and I'll get back to the Neptune squares after. Isn't it weird that like it's 9:35 a.m. and I feel way more at ease than I would if I did this at like 4 p.m. Like I just can't do readings. Like I don't give a fuck. Like fuck this little rant time. Like I just don't give a shit, dude. Like I literally don't care. I've never really been like this, but like I would rather, sleep really, really late into the day, especially in summer when it's so hot, but at least, get really, really good work done for my clients. It's super important work, and like, I've been really wanting to do your chart and to, make sure that I do a good job when I do it, right? It's been a minute since you booked it, and obviously I fuck with you and stuff, so it's like I want to give you the best reading. So it's like I don't really care that much that, you know like I just fuck time, like as long as I sleep 6 or 7 hours, like I'm good. But I am crazy. I have Uranus in the sixth house, and it is what it is. That's the rant. It's over. Um, so yeah, I believe that we that's almost like a sponsored ad on fucking like YouTube. Like there's like no purpose to it. Staying up late. But yeah, so basically, yeah, like super old soul. So you've been through lots. So that's kind of why probably like the family karma is pretty intense. Maybe even maybe a lot of my clients are like they're the ones, like the chosen ones, to break that, to break through like cycles that have been going on in the family for a really long time. And you're born 2000, bro. So you're young, and you're young, and I think that I get the sense that you are that person, and that all of these energies, like even if we look at like, for example, like um your sun, right? It's at 6 degrees. So if I'm starting to get into to degree theory, and 6 degrees, that's a Virgo degree, right? So it's going to add a little bit of hint of Virgo to your sense of self. So responsible, cleanliness, order, like definitely like organized life, even though you're Scorpio. And yeah, and then the moon, it's in the second house of Taurus, and it's at 2 degrees. So there's going to be like a kind of Taurian vibe to the Sag moon, where there's going to be a level of kind of stability and groundedness and all that good stuff that comes with the Taurus moon. But there can also be this issue, and it's not like, because Sag moon is all loves change, it's all about change. All like when it's stressed, it wants to travel, it wants to experience new things. Um, it's not the same for Taurus. So yeah, it's very important to understand kind of how those two work together and to try to make, to try to adjust. Okay, back to what I was saying. Um, so and then before that, 19 would be 7. So yeah, you have that's a Libra. So 7 would add kind of like a romantic kind of relationship oriented vibe to the ascendant and to the Mercury. Also, I need to watch out for, even though it's in Scorpio, for kind of like the people pleasing, all that stuff that comes with Libra. Now, as I was saying, I'm going in lots of directions here, but the square with Neptune and the Sun and Neptune and Mercury, it's going to make it so like the sense of like how you see yourself will be very, very subjective, and it takes lots of kind of inner work. So this is another like impetus, like another one of those pushes towards inner work, right? Towards you doing the necessary inner work. So it typically, like in childhood, especially with your Mercury being in retrograde natally, which right now, we're about to enter Mercury retrograde pretty soon. Um, it is a time, just people who have Mercury retrograde natally, they tend to like feel more at ease when it's in retrograde. It's a very interesting thing. So yeah, but yeah, so with the square Neptune, besides that, yeah, so the thing with that, it's gonna make you like it kind of just it makes you really want to channel your energy into something like spirituality or something artistic. But yeah, there can be this feeling of losing yourself, right? Vagueness of the mind, unbalanced emotions, right? Also, you have to really be careful of deceit, like energy vampires. Very, very important, right? With all this energy, to not take on the wrong types of partners or even friends or environments, right? Because you'll be really, really affected because you're a massive empath. You're like a sponge for energy, good and bad. So the environment where you live and all that is very important. But because we see like, so many of these planets in the first and second, it just shows that a big part of this lifetime for you is like redefining yourself, like in terms of identity. Um, we see the 29 degrees Saturn, so you're definitely like coming to the end of a karmic kind of chapter in terms of incarnations. And yeah, like that makes me think that you might be the one who's really trying to break through this whatever the trend is, the cycle is in your family. Now, so okay, yeah. So Mercury retrograde already, right? Um, yes, and I just want to say also one other thing, like with the Neptune, is that one of the best ways to get through Neptune transits, or not transits, aspects, is to literally like like you see how I'm a Pisces and I film myself, I do videos, like that's like the one of the most healing things for me, is to just like have because Neptune's ruled by rules screens, mirrors, stuff like that. So even like filming yourself and like just doing like it could be like a make believe vlog series you have that you don't show to anyone, or creating content, whatever. And by the way, like I make it very, very like a huge point, like with all my clients, if I even if it's someone like you that I meet that I consider like a friend, or internet friend, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I don't give a shit. I like, my girlfriend always says, "Oh, you call everyone your friend." I go, "Yeah, well, I like people, and I call them my friends until they prove me that they're not my friends, or if they prove me that they're not my friends." So yeah, like you can really like gain a lot by putting yourself in front of the camera and just doing that. It really helps you understand, and kind of the self-esteem aspect gets a lot easier. Um, the Mercury Squares is difficult. I know it well, 'cause my girlfriend has it, and it can kind of give you like a skewed perception of reality. If that makes sense. Um, so you might be like it's really, really good for like understanding like very abstract concepts, and the stuff that like people like like don't understand normally. But then like for like everyday life, it can be difficult, right? So either it's like you can be disposed to like being deceived by others or deceiving others, right? It can make kind of like a schemer energy, or someone who gets schemed against. But really, there's this hazy thinking, where you might like interpret something, like there can be like this paranoia of the mind, right? Like where you like happens all the time with me and my girlfriend, like where she'll like I'll say something and I won't mean it at all in the way she thinks I did, and then she just makes a big deal out of it. I'm not gonna get into like examples, obviously, but like yeah. So that one is it's I think the way to kind of like move past that is to just like have someone close to you, empathetic and understanding, and who you can literally just like, it's called in psychology called reality testing. Like be like, I know it sounds cheesy and weird to do that, but like if you had like a partner who's very like maybe into astrology, spiritual, whatever, you could literally just be like, look, like I have this tendency to read too much into things, to overanalyze. With the Mercury retrograde is definitely very over analytical. It can make one kind of stuck on their thoughts. Maybe like, and sometimes like my thoughts are a little bit skewed, and you can reality test, like is this what you meant by that? And like I don't know, you think people respond really badly to that, but it shows a level of vulnerability which might be hard for someone with that aspect of Saturn in Moon, but people love vulnerability. So yeah. But yeah, Mercury retrogrades. Yeah. So besides, what else about Neptune? It can create like a great trickster. It can create someone like a magician, someone who can like literally has skills to like yeah, like deceive others. I know that sounds horrible, but it's like can be very, very, very convincing. And just also when it's integrated, it can become like just mad potential for like speaking to the other side, channeling, like dude, anything spiritual. I swear to God, it's a really great indication. Um, Now with Mercury retrograde, that's karmic. That means that like in a past life, you either overspoke or underspoke, or overthought or underthought. Um, and in this life, at least until your Saturn return around that time, like 30, or like whenever you really start to raise your awareness, which is already, but you know what I mean. Um, there can be really like this over analyzing, like really like instead of it makes someone shy usually, especially in Scorpio, and they tend to, especially since it's combust your sun, you can lack um objectivity, the ability to kind of see yourself clearly, and you don't have air in your chart, so that will further that. I mean, you have Jupiter, but that's a middle planet. So yeah, it's like seeing yourself clearly is definitely a big issue. Um, and that's why I told you about like kind of the filming yourself, and finding a creative outlet, like whether it's like art, some type of art, some type of creativity, where through that you start to kind of form your identity, which is a huge thing for you with your moon in the second house and all this in the second house. That's about, in the first house, it's like about forming identity, but there's lots of pushback to that process. So yeah. Besides that, Mercury retrograde people, yeah, they can ruminate a lot. They can really, like, yeah, just be people who have a tough time making decisions, and it can be difficult. I mean, what else can I say? Shit. But very, very pensive. And with your South Node being in Capricorn, let's see if it aspects of any it makes. None. But the ruler of Saturn, which is it's your it's retrograde. So it makes me, in 29 degrees, it makes me think that you probably were someone, a past life tendency to be more in the material world. If that makes sense, like more in the outer life, the career. I mean, I don't know if you want to call it that, but you get what I'm saying. Like more in that world. So it's very important to really, really value the emotions and value that more feminine nature. And having Saturn in that position, the seventh house, I mean, that's kind of relating everything to relationships, notably romantic relationships. Of course, it could also mean business partnerships, or open enemies, or different. There's so many different meanings for different houses, but Saturn there really is about just lots of people who have Saturn in the seventh, they tend to not like necessarily meet the one until after the Saturn return. I mean, it's a blanket statement, but it's usually something like that, because they have a lot of karma to kind of overcome in that area of life before then. Yeah, basically, like it can just kind of create restrictions around that part of life. It's the easiest way to think of it. And it can be frustrating, but when you know about it, you're like, all right, I get it, right? I get it. I get how it is. And then it becomes, more manageable. Okay, so with should go to Mars next. Let's see, aspects. Yeah, I mean, moon sextile Neptune. That's just more like extreme creative potential, being in touch with your, with like I said, like it's a very big theme. You're very, very like spiritual person, like by nature, like you brought this over from past lives. It's a very powerful imagination, and very good for the occults, and very good for like wanting to create art, basically. And you also have moon opposite Uranus. Is that what I see? I mean, excuse me, Jupiter, not Uranus. And moon and Venus, I didn't really talk about that. That's just like that adds like a lot of lightheartedness, love of beauty, artistic talent, affection. It adds a lot of that to that, like that difficult conjunction with Pluto. So, and yeah, so that's very good. And you have Venus conjunct Chiron too, so that speaks to like Venus conjunct Pluto, obviously. So that's a lot to unpack right there. So one by one, but basically like Venus and Pluto, you until you learn like real self-love, you might be someone who experiences a lot of your darkness through your romantic relationships. and you will, you experience the death, rebirth, and transformation. There's a need to like kind of let go, and until that happens, one can tend to kind of, it can be difficult for self-esteem, and it can make one really like really like love so intensely that it can almost like freak some people out, because it's just like it can because there's so much fate in your relationships that, but like not everyone is like an old soul like you. So what can happen is that, if it's the wrong person, they might be like overwhelmed by, the speed of things. So there's a need to kind of ground yourself. And with Chiron conjunct Venus, that's like the ultimate, like that's really, really good for being like a healer, for like having like a super healing effect on other people. And it's all in Sagittarius. So, your type of healing could be based on, your wisdom, like being like a teacher of some sort. Whatever really, really interests you, like really diving deep into it, learning all about it, and then teaching. And that can take any form, right? Like I think like what I do in large part is teaching. I mean, like with like content and stuff. Now, yeah, going back to kind of what I was saying about like the Mercury retrograde, I would say that, if your South is in Capricorn, there's probably, you're probably, more dominant, tendency to kind of like yeah, like maybe it was more of like the over speaking, you could say. And in this life it's about kind of, more, like I said, more going inside yourself, and but it's also, they're like the North Node's in the ninth house, so that's connected completely to the Sagittarius part of you, right? Ninth house of Sagittarius. So it's a real mix of like, through your travels, your metaphoric and your physical travels, um, gaining a deeper connection with yourself emotionally. Um, and also your North Node in Cancer can be about really going, with the whole like work life balance, home life balance, inner life, outer life balance. It's like kind of moving more towards the inner life, but then also, being an adventurer. So mixing those two together, which is, you know, it could be like someone who like travels a lot, but like within their travels, they are very comfortable where they're staying. You know what I mean? Like they may like move to different countries throughout their life, or just different parts of their own country, different cultures. Because the U.S. really is like 7 or 8 different countries in one, if you think about it. I posted like a map the other day that showed that. And yeah, and just like making, just like really like kind of like making the home nest kind of. With Jupiter, it's not like as crazy. I mean, it basically like it's just like you have to watch out for spending too much. Also being like overbearing and extravagant, like kind of energy of the person who walks into the casino is like, I'm gonna win for sure. And already being a Sag moon, there's that's the risk taker. Like Sag moons are speculators. They like to take risks. They like to gamble. They like to also like to party, and yeah, and kind of like go all in. So you have to kind of watch out for that tendency if it's a destructive one. Um, hmm. Scorpio Rising, I mean, I haven't really gone too much into that. I mean, Scorpio Rising, you usually have very like mysterious aura, which makes what Capricorn, you're no Virgo, you're midheaven. Um, and yeah, they tend to, have that aura that is just so different, and people really want to know about them. Like, who is this person? Even if they're not saying anything in a room, they'll have this presence. And they like to observe, that especially with your Mars and Virgo, you're super, super observant, right? Of the physical and the non-physical. So this is a great combination to have. Like usually Mars and Virgo can be a little bit, I was gonna say annoying, like from my experience, but like I said, like I've said so many times, like everything in astrology can't, it has to be like that in the context of the whole chart. And when it's a chart like yours, um, it's more, having that earth energy that you lack and having it, Mars and Virgo, it's gonna give you the ability. Like I have a friend, or my girlfriend's best friend, her new best friend, has a kind of similar chart to you. Honestly, she's a Sag. Come to think of it, she's a Sagman, Scorpio with Mars and Virgo, and I realized about her is that she um is someone who like that Mars and Virgo is the part of her that like is able to like read the books and get the job done, and be responsible and show up for work and stuff. So we'll talk more about that in a little bit. But yeah, I want to go back kind of a little bit to the moon. And you see, I'm connecting a puzzle, so it's like a piece here, piece here, piece here, piece here, piece here, and then it makes sense in the end. So with the moon and Saturn, right? Like I talked about how it's like, like the relationship with your mother is super critical in how, your relationships with women are going to be. Usually means she's like emotionally cold or strict. Um, but the better she was in that area, like the better it is for you as an adult. Um, and I already talked about like the, kind of not sharing emotions thing. And there can be a feeling of feeling isolated and lonely. Um, shyness I talked about, like even guilt for things that are not yours. So that's another thing to look at is like, am I holding on to any guilt or shame that's actually like from my mother, not me? So yeah, a lot of people with this, like they have like a very serious kind of disposition. Um, and it takes like a lot, and you have all that Sag, so that kind of protects you from that. If yeah. Um, but like that, this is like another, like you have so many initiations for like the work, quote unquote, right? Because this is like another one where it's like because like the conscious work towards like bettering this is what makes it more comfortable for you to share emotions. And there could be, yeah, like fear of getting close to people is huge to get past that. And yeah, so yeah, just learning to be vulnerable, learning to let go, learning to speak to people, to speak about your emotions to people is huge. It's massive. Um, and then the fact that it's, like I said, it's making that aspect with the midheaven, that's literally saying that the resolution of what I just explained with the Saturn um moon is having like a direct effect on your career, but also on your family life and figuring all that out. So by speaking about what happened early on, by really diving deep into it and making like a job, you're able to um, open up new areas for yourself, career wise and life purpose wise, that might not otherwise be open. I hope my voice is losing itself now. What it does is whatever, fuck it. Just like breathe every like once in a while, like, in my throat. Kind of helps. Oh, that's been better. Yeah, thanks. Um. So yeah. I talked about Ceres rising, so yeah, that just like gives, yeah, like I said, an energy that even though there's like that intense Scorpio, old soul energy, likes to observe before making the move. People notice them. The series is gonna make someone who is way more, I guess you could say like chill, relaxed, like trying to get back and because it's on your ascendant, right? Which is what people see, your outer personality. It's going to make you come off quite charming, quite chill. So that's a very good thing. Hmm. I think Taz come to consult me. Now, interestingly enough, having like kind of back to some of the love stuff, right? We talked about Pluto and Venus and how like, but I didn't really explain how, at a higher level when these two merge together in a positive way, it's a lot better to have this conjunction and to have a square like me or an opposition. Um, it creates someone who's super, super romantic and who regardless of anything in their chart, like they just want that soul bonding relationship, and that's very Scorpionic, right? Very Plutonian, very eighth housey, very Scorpionic. Now you also have Jupiter in the eighth house. Speaking of the eighth house, right? So that's going to give you luck in a lot of areas of life. I'll talk about that a little bit, um, especially like the occult. So you have a lot. I don't know if you saw my post on like most psychic. I think I did like 2 or 3 parts. Most psychic astrological placements. I think you have quite a few of them. Quite a few. Um, so yeah, and then of course Venus conjunct Chiron. That means yeah, like I already talked about like, and then part of fortune's there too. So you're feeling your best when you're helping other people heal and when you're healing yourself. Um, and I talked about the part that's more linked to like the part that's more linked to being a healer, but also like there's a huge part about like healing yourself in relationships and healing your karma in relationships, and it all goes back to let's see what Venus is doing opposite Jupiter, so that's not bad. So yeah, it's just conjunctions. Mars is only trying Saturn, so there's no bad aspects left to talk about. Um, yeah, like Venus and Jupiter, like usually you think of a square as a bad thing, but or an opposition, or is it not bad? It's a difficult thing, but Venus and Jupiter, it's good. I mean, basically, it's just like these two houses. This is really really good for money, by the way. Really really good for money to have. Venus in the second is very very good, and even Pluto in the second, like that's super. Like I was just reading something about that today about how like I wasn't reading this, but I was reading more about it. But what I've always thought about Pluto in the second is like in past lives you've had past life memories where you were stuck in survival mode, in that mode of like of just like where you're not really able with the hierarchy of needs, you're not really able to um I guess you could say like get to know yourself. Like think of like a homeless person. Like are they really able to like do therapy and go and I guess you could say like individualize? No, because they're stuck in survival mode. So when you have Pluto there, it kind of shows that that's been something that's happened and that you're trying to escape that. And it can create workaholics and people who just are like go getters, like who will just go get that cash. And it's very, very like strong placement. But the key is to not, once again, like your moon, not connect, not overcompensate. Any issues you might have with self esteem or with seeing yourself in that clear light, with like material objects and success and money like that. But basically, like Venus in the second house is like very good for like having your own resources for making money. And Sag, like it could be like some related like speculation, understanding the future, or even just like teaching or whatever. But yeah, just overall having those resources. Moon will make the money go up and down. Yeah. Then in the eighth house, Jupiter means that you're able to benefit from other people's resources. So that could be like an inheritance. It could be like, if you were like, let's say you were like a banker, it would be like investing other people's money, making money. Overall, just being able to like, you know, do like have like lots of luck when it comes to money. And Mars in 11th, so those are three money houses. That's a little bit different. Yeah, before we get into that, let's kind of talk more about this. Like Jupiter also in eighth house is like I always think of it as like this flashlight, which you have, right? Like in the eighth and the 12th, and just Neptune in general. Like it's like the realms that are dark for most people and are completely just utterly just so hard to understand. Like it's the occult, esoteric, studies of life after death, stuff like that, right? That comes naturally to you. So it's a strong placement. It's also, good for sex. It's in Gemini, so it's very good for communicating, for having the gift of gab. Um, so yeah, load second house. You'll feel very good with part of fortune there when you're kind of at your top in terms of like the mix of finances, but also like internal self resources, right? Where you're in a you're really trying to create a value system that you like moral/value system that you live off of and base your decisions off of, which totally goes back to Sagittarius, right? And that's done, through that process of going out in the world and really just exploring and taking risks and meeting different people from different cultures and reading different types of books and learning different types of philosophies, just really opening your mind up to everything. Like read my book. It's called Pisces Live Nine Lives. It's on Amazon. It's a great book. It's not about like my life or anything. Only the first two chapters are, and it's very, very good introduction to so many mystical topics. Like each chapter is kind of like its own little mini book. So aside from that, um, let's see. So yeah, just like Mercury and Scorpio in general, they like to like really they're very anti small talk, you could say. They like to kind of go deeper into things as opposed to just be surface level. And very good for like probing the psyche, the unconscious. So it's like the natural like psychologist. Um and yeah, essentially that's kind of how it is, huh? Um and yeah, they I imagine it's not easy for you to have like stupid conversations. Like I imagine like you really have like a real difficulty having like conversations. But what saves you is that Jupiter in Gemini, because that gives you an ability to do that. Like if you, like you have a job, for example, that pays really well, but you're like, fuck, I have to have all this lame small talk with these lame people. Like that will actually help you. It's also going to make you really, really love like expand a lot through all different kinds of media. So reading, writing, whatever it is, you're gonna be able to gain a lot through it. So yeah, what else can I see? Mars, in Virgo, I have to like tell you like my opinion of this. As I was saying before, I find it to be very difficult. I've seen it be very, very difficult in men's charts. But that's usually like, when they have like a lot of earth and a lot of water, or at least a lot of earth, and you have no other earth. So as I was just saying, it's going to actually help you with the kind of organizational parts of life. And yeah, it's also, very tied to perfectionism. Like, in fact, it's probably like one of like the main indicators of like someone who might be perfectionist. And so you have to watch out for that, right? Because perfectionism is a sickness, it's a disease. And in the 11th house, it can create sometimes quarrels and issues with friends. But overall, it also gives you like a real drive to find the right friends, but you can be a little bit critical of friends sometimes. So this is another one where another initiation kind of aspect, right? Where it's like there's like a need to kind of because Mars and Virgo people, they can like really, really, really be so self-critical that they project it outwardly. So that's why meditation can be such a great thing for you, or whatever your version of that is, if it's a creative outlet or whatever, because you can start to see how you speak to yourself. Like, for example, you start meditating, you're like, you say like a 12-minute. I have like a video somewhere on my Instagram, like not too long ago, on my IGTV, called like how to meditate, if you're interested. And it's like explained very simply. But basically, like, I could totally see, like with Mars and Virgo people in general, like they can learn so much through their meditations of like how they speak to themselves. And yeah, it can be very, very, very transformational when they start to see like, man, like I was not patient at all with myself. Like I was like calling myself in my head, like, oh, you're so bad, you suck at meditating, you can never do it, like just give up, stuff like that. So yeah, that's massive. As I was saying before, in the 11th house, it can be very good for kind of like overall drive towards like your like big picture goals. And having Mars and Virgo, it's also something when it comes down to like health and routine, like where you're able to kind of like set yourself up for success in whatever you put your mind to, because of that. And then it only makes one aspect, which is to Saturn, which is a very nice one. Like I really, really like Mars trine Saturn. It's in the charts of a lot of very, very successful people. And basically what it does is it gives like a very, very, it makes someone have tons of endurance. And gives them like the ability to succeed regardless of like the circumstances they're in. They can just keep pushing through, super disciplined. And it's not a square or like an opposition, which would get better after 30. It's a trine, so it's like a natural talent to really like have this real follow through, and this ability to just keep going. Yeah, there are some setbacks, but they're not detrimental to who you are and to everything. Like it's more it's a strength. It's a trine. Trines are good. Trends are easy. Okay, so let's see. So kind of like just like zooming back a little bit, just like love in general. So Sag moons, in love, like they definitely and with Pluto and Venus there, like they definitely like need a lot of freedom, a lot of space. So this might be like another split that we might see here, because like Scorpio is the opposite of that. Scorpio is like the sign of like two souls, like I was saying before, merging and becoming one, while Sag likes to kind of like experience life on its own terms and go on adventures, like stuff like that, right? So finding that balance can be a little bit tricky, but it's doable. It's definitely doable. but you have to know that your moon sign is what makes you feel secure. And if and like your sun sign is more about like what you're meant, like what your dharma is, like what you're really meant to do, I guess, like what you're really like where you're meant to shine. So you're meant to shine in the realm of the darkness, right? In the realm of Scorpio. But by not allowing yourself freedom in relationships and being able to discuss things like space, like look, like hey, like I look, like if you have like a girlfriend or whatever, like, or a partner, just being able to be like, look, like I love you, but I need, like, especially with the rest of your chart, right? I need to spend time alone to recharge, or it just doesn't work, or like it has nothing to do with you. It's just how I am. I've always been this way. It's my astrology. She believes yeah. So that's kind of one really important thing. Then it's important also for the North Node is very important also when it comes to love, right? Because you want to have someone who's headed in like not that like two people like with different North Nodes can't be together, because I mean, for example, like um my girlfriend's North Node's Cancer, Aquarius, but like in so like let's say you're also Cancer North Node. That doesn't mean if you met someone with like a North Node, like in the fire sign or air sign, right? Which are the more masculine signs, that it can work at all. It just sort of means that you guys might have like different roles, and opposites attract. Like people with like for example, like for you, because like the South Node is your tendency. So like being like the boss, being like an authority figure is going to come very easily for you, right? Saturn rules your South Node, so you definitely have been an authority figure. So it's not like this difficult energy for you. So that's why if you were with someone who was trying to go towards that, well, they might have a South Node that's opposite, that kind of shows that in past lives they have a tendency of being more let me give a good example. Like if you were dating someone with the South Node in Libra and North Node in Aries, it might create something where like they have a tendency of kind of being people pleasing, but they're trying to move towards being more assertive. And since you have your South Node in Capricorn, which it's not a fire sign, but it is all about like going after it, and creating success in the real world. You might, it could still work. Like if you actually think about, Mika, get off my thing. If you think about it, like from like a karmic sense, like the father being like if the mother who's like, let's say there's like a mother who's really meant to be a mother, and she has her North Node in Cancer, and then the father who's like maybe the breadwinner, maybe he has his North Node in a sign like I don't know, Aquarius, like mine, or like Capricorn, or Sag. It doesn't mean that they can't coexist, because maybe like the woman takes on the role of like being more of the nurtured, the kids, and yeah. Besides that, I already told you Venus and Sag attracted to in the second house. You want someone stable, but you probably would do better with people from different cultures. Um, Mars in Virgo, that speaks more to this sort of need for stability in the people you're in relationships with. This need to kind of like not even have to like ever second doubt, right? And yeah, never like really have to second doubt their intentions, and like for example, if they go out with their friends, like you're not even thinking for a second, like there's no chance that they're gonna do anything, like off limits, right? That's kind of what that archetype looks for. And let's see. Of course, like someone who has to be able to handle your level of like intensity and and the potential mood swings that could happen with the moon and Pluto, and of course with the sun and or the Mercury opposite Saturn, someone who's very empathetic and like I was telling you before, who you're able to have these conversations with that not some people like wouldn't understand, like the reality testing stuff. um, and like I just think you're an artist. I just think you're an artist. I think you're very artistic minded, and you have so much potential in that area. So you could do well with someone who you also share, like not only values, because like that's also what Sag, it's like spirit, like kind of philosophical spiritual values, like share that, but also like maybe like artistic taste can be a great way for you to a great bonding. And besides that, Juno is in the fourth house in Aquarius, conjunct Uranus. So that tells us a lot. So that speaks to a more of a need for freedom. Potentially someone who is quite unconventional, someone who beats the beat of their own drum, who doesn't just follow like what society tells them they should do or should be like. And in the fourth house, someone who who likes to kind of stay close to home and is interested in having a family, but also like you know isn't like following like the guideline textbook of like this is how you do life. That you're not interested in that. You're interested in kind of blazing your own trail, kind of. That makes sense. So yeah, the Juno is like kind of the dream partner. So yeah, Aquarius is obviously very unconventional, and it could be some. I always say like with these types of placements, like I have Venus in Aquarius, and it's like and Mars, and it's just like it's all about like the meaning of the minds, right? So that intellectual connection, and maybe even like a psychic connection, with Uranus there, like being able to just kind of understand each other without even having to communicate, like some telepathic shit. But yeah, okay. So Uranus in the fourth can also create, like maybe if the parents were divorced, or a lot of times people have that, they move around a lot as kids, um, whether it's like in the same city or just around the country or the world or whatever. So they tend to really want to move around a lot as adults and live in lots of different places. But then the goal with the Northern Cancer is to really find like a stable residence at some level, but like it can be in a different country. It can be changing, it could be like living here for 5 months, living here for 5 months, but wherever you are, having it be very, very stable. But long term, I think Northern Cancer, is really wanting to nurture, and there's definitely like something with kids there. And your your fifth house ruled by Pisces, Neptune in the fourth. Yeah, um, very like interesting kids if you do have kids, like unconventional kind of. Okay, so then there is, let's see here, vertex in the ninth house. That's just kind of saying how, in relationships in Cancer, like your doorway to higher awareness will be through really accessing, your emotions and in letting out your emotional expression in relationships, and being able to be vulnerable. And then also the whole traveling thing, like traveling physically and metaphorically, how that's your really like broadening your horizons is a huge part of your life. And that's why you're Sag. And I was saying earlier, like the reason you're a Scorpio is because you're here to let go and to go towards that death, rebirth, transformation of that real like spiritual, emotional side of yourself. Midheaven in Virgo, 1 degree Virgo, so that's Aries. So yeah, you'll be a go-getter in career, and so you'll be a go-getter in career, and you'll really want to do something that is you know kind of it can be looked at as like a service to humanity in a sense. But not necessarily just to humanity. Like you want to do something that you feel useful doing, right? That like you really feel like you're putting your greatest skills to use. And then it's also Mercury, so yeah, it's using your intellect, using your mind, using your communication, probably your ability to analyze, very important. And with Mars there also, it kind of says the same thing. And then also working in groups, like is probably part of your career. um mm, okay, let's see what's good with the no wrong one. The fixed stars and asteroids. All right, close down. Oh shit. Oh, okay. So let's see. Wow. So your sun moon midpoint is right on your ascendant. That's crazy. So like where your sun and moon meet in the middle is right on your ascendant. So and then your ascendant is with Ceres. If you click on here, it shows, Ceres is all about like taking care of others. People attracted you for your warm nature. So it definitely kind of creates you know, some warmth. In Scorpio, you feel cared for when your loved ones and intensely focus their attention on you. You're emotionally committed to those close to you. So, yeah, I would say that's very interesting to have that merge and meet on the ascendant, because I would say that it just speaks to kind of that balancing act of Sag and Scorpio. And even though the ascendant's in Scorpio, it's like how can you still um, like have that like work with both of them and kind of uh, work with both of them, and not just let the Scorpio dominate, right? Because it's in the first house, and because there's more. I mean, because the first house is like the self, right? So it's like, how can you add that Sag energy to the first house? And my answer to that would be, something along the lines of, um, you know, the higher philosophies and higher truths, speaking about them, being someone who is opinionated but not forcing your opinion on other people. That's another thing with Sag Moon you have to watch out for, is that they spend so much time like finding their own opinions that sometimes once they or their own truths and their own things that they believe in, that sometimes when they find that, they're just like, this is what it is, and they kind of force it on other people. I've been through that stage. I think most Sag Moons go through it. All right, let's see here. Wow. Yo, I see money in your chart, my man. Holy fuck. You have Aldebaran conjunct Jupiter. Aldebaran is like the money maker. I'll show my face. Well, I finished up 1:35. Damn, I thought it was like 2 hours. Fuck. Well, it's good because fuck, I'm tired of doing these like readings where I just go forever, forever, forever. But yeah, I'll find a little bit about Aldebaran astrology. Is Mika. Different cats come over for different people. It's interesting. So this is Aries, Scorpio. So you're a Scorpio. There you go. Double Scorpio, just like you. But it's her moon and her rising. Or yeah, moon and rising. Sun Aries. So okay, so yeah, Aldebaran is just all about just smooth talker, lusty, lovely, rich, sensual, materialistic, business men, winners, these are just keywords: indulgent, romantic, seducers, pleasure seekers, blah 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 blah. I'm not gonna read all these fucking things. Charmers, diplomats, bold, cheeky. It's one of the four real stars, basically, right? So it's very versatile. So let's see with Jupiter. I already know what it's gonna say. So it gives great success and inspiration in whatever field these subjects find themselves in. I think, and this is a very close conjunction. So this is like really, really like. But of course, I have to tell you, like, when I tell people about like, they have lots of good potential for money. If they sit on their ass, it's not going to happen. You got to work your ass off, but you're going to because you got that Pluto in the second house that drives you, that makes you want to make some of yourself. It automatically does. So yeah, great success and inspiration in whatever field these subjects find themselves in. I think this is chiefly because of the subject's unshakable faith and determination to pursue the dreams, no matter what the obstacles are. The the chance of success is more likely if Jupiter is well placed near an angle or closely aspected by one of the personal planets, which it's not far at. It's still like 19 degrees from an angle, but whatever. And then did it say aspected by a personal planet? So Jupiter. I mean, you do have it. Yeah. You have Jupiter opposite Venus and Pluto, but like whatever, like it's. I see money in your chart, my friend. I see money, and I always say that. And also, actually, never mind. Not never mind about the money thing. Just, yeah, okay. So that is interesting. So yeah, like, talk about that. Mm, my lips are so fucking dry. Jesus. Sorry, Mika. Mika, chill, chill, chill. And with Mars, I don't really see anything. Let's just open up one more file. We'll talk about, we'll go deeper in the follow up, obviously. We've gotten pretty damn deep, but like we'll put like your lived experience with what we're talking about here. Also, one thing that I should tell you, I don't think I dropped this yet. I may have already. I don't think I know. I've done a lot of readings tonight. I don't think I told you this, but basically, the majority of people, right? Like I used to not do this, but I started doing this. Is instead of having just the follow up, mixing the current astrology report with the follow-up. So if you're interested in that, let me know. Basically what you're getting now is the birth chart reading. You get this done once in your life, whatever, it's done. I mean, you can go get it done by a different astrologer. You can wait a few years and you get it redone by me and see how much better I am. I'm just joking. You could do that. I have one friend who actually two people, friends / clients. Same thing for me when they're good people, who are doing that, and I think it's dope. But basically, the current astrology you get done once a year. It explains the energies, and it's usually 250. It's like a pretty long reading, especially when you combine it with a follow up. I would do it for 180 for you. You just have to remind me. And basically, like, so the follow up is an hour. The current astrology is between 90 and 120 minutes, and it's live. And I record it as long as you remind me. I'm starting, like, or if you want that, like, but most people obviously do. There's lots of information, and I'm pretty much like year to, like, I don't know, a little bit more than a year ahead. Just yeah, year to, I'd say like the year ahead, basically. Like maybe a little bit more than that if I see anything big, but just like really explain to you like the energy. Like it's like this reading is like the hand you were dealt, like the book of your life, right? While that reading is like the chapter of the now, and it's very, very interesting. So yeah, let me know if you're trying to mix those together, and I would just like you know, have a time that's just for you, essentially, or a day, excuse me, that's just for you. And yeah. Okay, let's see if I see anything else. You're lucky that Antares is not conjunct Pluto. Although, is it? Is Antares? I mean, it's like a very loose conjunction, but let's see. Let's see what it says. That one does not sound. That sounds like some badass shit, but it's pretty far. I don't know if they even have Pluto. Like, yeah, they just use up to Saturn. Okay. Yep. Nothing. Um. If you're lucky, your Saturn's close to Algol. That would be very bad. Um. Very difficult. I would imagine Saturn in conjunct Algol, which is like, with Serpentis, probably the two more difficult um placements. But why did you not have Zubin al Shalami? That should be showing up. Why didn't it show up? But yeah, that Jupiter Aldebaran is the one to really remember, like, big time. Okay, 1 second. Yeah, so there it is. I found her. Zubin El Shalami. That is about writing, my friends. And you have it right on your ascendant, and you have Serpentis pretty damn close, but it's far enough to be just out of range. You're so lucky. And you have Zubin al Shalami, which is so close. How the fuck do you spell it? Zubin el Zubin el Shamali. And I know what that one's about, but um we'll just talk a little bit about what it has to do with rising. because it's different. Like if it hits Mercury Rising, whatever. But yeah, it's very, very intellectual. And it's yeah, it's the star of writers. So to have that rising, good fortune, it's just shitty fucking like description. Yeah, I would just say that like writing would play like a large role in your life. And that you could have like, lots of like potential as being a writer. Let's see. I found a new thing. Oh, yeah. This is astronomy. Hmm. Yeah, so it brings good fortune, high ambition, and riches. So it's another one that's very, very good. Let's see if it's saying anything about the so it arouses spiritual mental forces and gives an immortal name. It gives a sharp mind and intellect with a very powerful psychic quality or psychotic if it has hard aspects or is conjunct and malefic. So I love it. I think that's a great one. You have rising. I'm happy I remembered it. Starting to memorize the stars and asteroids and stuff. Um, so yeah, cool, dope. Hope you enjoyed. This is a very fucking long reading, 146. But I did my thing. We got the point across. We went from here to here to here to here to here to here to here. We covered everything, and the follow up will, make sure you take notes. Make sure you come prepared, my man. I wanted to do this, this big for you and go a little bit longer. I lost my voice yesterday. Shit was weird. Imagine you're just like talking all the time and you just like can't talk. Crazy. Yeah, man, like I messed with you, bro. I like you. You're a cool dude and I really hope that because like in your chart, like the 11th house, it's highlighted, you do have Mars in there, but also your midheaven's in there and it's Virgo, which is like, um, Mercury. So you are someone who could really contribute and really find themselves. It's just about like at your age, if you could, like with all these psychic powers, if you like joining, like really like coming, I don't care about the chat. And if I haven't even invited you to Cosmos, then fuck me, like just tell me like in the follow up and we'll get you in there. It's free, don't worry about it. It's just like it's a great group that I created 2 years ago. I'm very proud of it. I only hand select people. If anyone ever asks me to join, they can fuck off. I'm just joking. But yeah, I don't it's invite only. It's based on my vibe. I don't invite every student or every client, student or anything. Like it's just like I invite people who I want to invite. Um because like that Mercury retrograde is ruling that 11th house. So I don't know, I just feel like you bring a very interesting dynamic to the group. All right, then. Peace out. Talk soon. Let me know when you're done, like kind of like going through this. And most people watch it like 3 times. First time they kind of like watch it. Second, third, whatever. How many times? Some people watch like 7 times. That's the average is for like two or three, probably three. It depends how serious they are, but that's when they like take notes and stuff and come prepared with like questions and just things that stood out and just yeah, that would be like a very good consolidation. All right, and let me know about the combining it with the current astrology. Like I said, it would be 180 USD more. So let me know. I highly suggest that because then you have the whole picture, not just the natal. You have the current. All right, peace out, man.